Hey everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Tim and Jim Show. I'm Tim Sohn over here hanging out with the kiddos' pictures and whatever creatures, roll in across the lawn over here and with Sohn Social Media Solutions. And I'm excited to be here with my trusty co-host and good friend, Mr. Jim Hughes. Hello, my friend.
Good morning, Mr. Sohn, and it's great to see you. And it's nice to see the natural lighting on you this morning because that's what
Very natural.
we're getting, and it fits in perfectly to of our discussion today. And
Yes.
yeah, as you know, I have to say it. Tomorrow is opening day for baseball, so I'm excited about that.
Ooh, tomorrow's opening day for baseball, and Sunday, it was your birthday.
Yes, that was fun. My wife and I went down to the Battery, Karen, and so that's why I don't like Karen jokes, just so all of you out there. And
Yes, we love
she
Karen.
surprised me and had Chris Stone and his wife Sonia meet us there at this
Wow.
restaurant. And it's funny because I walk into the restaurant, I was like, oh, and it didn't dawn on me. It was like, oh, hey, what are you guys doing down here? And then I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
like she got me. So we had a lot of fun. It was nice outside, not like today where we have severe thunderstorm, possible tornado warnings. Hopefully,
Oh
you
goodness, be
guys didn't get it
careful.
too bad because I know this stuff that we had
Yeah.
yesterday was going up the coast, and then I guess it's supposed to cool off after today, but supposed to
Mm,
have sun, so that means hopefully baseball tomorrow night on ESPN2. So I'll be there, so you can wave at me if you want, and
yeah,
maybe I'll
everybody
see you.
out for Jim. Everybody
I'll
watch
be on the
ESPN.
second deck, so I'll have to work really hard to get on TV, but we'll see what happens.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, it's been, I mean, gosh, Tim, it's, almost, what, 5 more months or 4 more? 4 more months. We'll be
We're
celebrating
mathing.
our 4th anniversary, 4-year anniversary, live streaming together, and so we
Yeah.
thought, why not have an episode to talk about getting started with live streaming because there's still a lot of people that haven't, right? Or
Oh, absolutely.
struggle with it. I mean,
Yeah.
and
I mean, even with the pandemic, which accelerated the number of people live streaming so much, and the platforms have grown so much, StreamYard and the other platforms. StreamYard, shout out to StreamYard, the sponsor of our show. But still, there are so many people that are hesitant to go live. So we're excited to talk about getting started with live streaming today.
yes, and we'll say hello to we got Chris Stone is in the audience, and we
Hey,
see
Chris.
Stefan Kaplan. Great to see you, Stefan. Nina
Hey,
Oglesby
Stefan.
from my Toastmasters Club. Great to see you here today.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Alec, I think is it
Oh,
Darling
Alec.
or
Yes, I
Dorling?
was just
Alec,
on his
you
show
were
the other
just on his
day.
show. Yes,
Welcome, Alec. Great
yes.
to see you.
And Alec, I appreciate Alec because he, like me, is one of these people that's a little bit older than your average live streamer and is doing it, right? So doesn't
Yes.
matter what age you are, what demographic you are, live streaming is definitely something that you can do. And so I think that that's something that we want to kind of dive into. And so, Tim,
Jim.
this is why I'm here is because of you, but why live stream?
Yes, that is a really, really good question. Why live stream in the first place? Because it does take time, it does take resources, right? But there's a number of reasons why you might live stream, right? One is to get yourself out there in whatever your particular industry is as a thought leader, maybe. That might be one reason. Um, Another reason might be maybe you are an author and maybe you want to get the word out about your book and about your expertise and have a platform for your book, and but whatever else you do the rest of the time, maybe you're a coach or something like that. um, Maybe for me, live streaming has been an incredible way to build friendships, but also business relationships with people, partnerships, um, collaborations with people. So many opportunities have come as a result of the Tim and Jim show, for example, Jim, such as us being on other live streamer shows or podcasts. We've met people at other events, and different collaborations like that. So I think just depending on your situation, um, there are different reasons why you might live stream. But Jim, what's your take on why live stream?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's overcoming, I guess, if you want to say that fear of the camera in a sense. And it's funny because, um, and I know you've done the same as a, social media instructor and things like that. Is you can speak in front of people, but when you're speaking to a camera, it's like you feel like it's different, and it's like it's really not. It's just the fact that now you're having to see what you look like either after the fact, and maybe you don't like that, but it's funny
And you're
because
a lot closer. You can see
yeah,
yourself a lot closer.
yeah, yeah, and so it's funny because back, when we first started the show, the funny thing was it was probably about 4 months before that, that I had met, Kelly Noble Mirabella, and I, sometimes tell this story, and I met her at Social Media Marketing World. It was the first time I had gone and I was there as an attendee, and we met at this, after hours function, and we started talking, and she's just a great person, and she's like, "Oh, you should join my Facebook group," and then she had this, like, live challenge,
Yeah.
and back in 20 this was 2018, yeah, 2018, Facebook
Wow.
was saying, "You should go live if you want more people to, engage with
Yes,
you." So that was, like, the big
I
thing, you gotta
remember.
go live, and so I was like, "Ah, okay." So she
Mhm.
had this challenge, and every day we had to do something, and, it started out live in the group. So that got me over that fear, and that's what I would tell those of you that are watching, whether live and on replay, that haven't done it yet, right? Just as Brian Fanzo says, just press the damn button and get started because you'll get over it. It's just like, Chris Stone and I talk about it, you and I talk about it. You got to put in the reps. The more you
Right.
do it, the easier it gets. And what's funny is I think for me, and I don't know about for you, Tim, it's like I almost prefer to do a video as opposed to writing things. And now the
Yes.
technology is getting out there that can take your audio and turn it into text. So, maybe you want to just record yourself, use a program like Otter or Descript, and now you made yourself a blog post out of your video, whether you record it or go live. But Tim then saw me as an unexpected guest on a live stream
I did.
and asked me to be on his show to talk about, Google My Business, which actually, funny
Shout out to
story,
Google. Yeah.
Google My Business I don't know if you knew this, Tim, there's some major changes. They're going to do away with the
Yeah.
Google My Business app, and
What?
everything will now be through just Google Maps. So,
Really?
I got an email the
Ooh.
other day because of one of the companies that I manage their Google stuff, and so you'll just be able to do everything on Google Maps or even in the browser. So I've actually been thinking I need to make a video telling people about that and put it on YouTube,
Wow.
right?
I feel like we need a show all about that, Jim.
That's probably not a bad idea. Now we did have Amanda Tento, I think I got that name right, a
Sounds
few
right. Yeah.
a
Shout out to
few
Amanda.
a few months ago. I think it seems like a while ago, and
Yeah.
she was talking about, Google My Business, so definitely check her out. Go back to that episode. She had some great info for us because if you're a local business, even if you're a live streamer, right, or a live stream producer like our friend Stefan Kaplan is
Yeah.
as well, uh,
Shout out to Stefan.
put your put it out there, right? Because if people are Googling, "I need a remote producer," boom, you might pop up there, and so I think that's definitely, something to consider. But yeah, so right, Tim, you like, "Hey, you wanna do a show?" And here we are. I've lost count of the episodes. I need to go update our spreadsheet, but it's
Yeah.
definitely been hundreds, I would say. between
Definitely.
not only being on, this show, but, and if you guys haven't watched it, I'm gonna give Tim a shout out right now. Tim started a show called Perspectives on Cancer, and last night he had Owen Hesmith, also known as Owen Video, on. That was an amazing show talking about Owen's journey to overcome stage 4 cancer, and, it was mind-blowing, but all the shows that you do, Tim, on this cancer thing are they're mind-blowing, they're deep. I mean, sometimes it's hard to watch because it will definitely, uh, pull on your emotions, and so,
Yeah.
that's Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. It's on LinkedIn, it's on, Facebook, but, everybody seems to be hanging
Here.
out on LinkedIn. Like, even today, it seems like
Yeah.
most of us are here on LinkedIn, and so, American Cancer Society, if you're listening, you need to contact Tim because he could definitely help you guys out, and any nonprofit that's dealing with cancer. Because Tim is it 15 years? Did I get that right, Tim?
15. This is actually my 16th year.
Starting the 16th year of overcoming, uh, cancer, and, is now sharing that story because of live streaming, and,
That's true.
and I think that kinda goes into why live stream, Tim, is it's to share a story, it's to build awareness, and it doesn't have to be just you as a personal brand, right? If you're a business, huge opportunity to connect with your audience, right? To let them know what you're
Yeah.
doing, to get to know you in a real way. I mean, this is what I love about when we're live, right? We're
Yeah.
able to interact with Alec and with Nina and Russ and Chris and Stefan. And if they ask
Yes.
us questions, we can respond to them in real time. So as
Hint,
a
hint. Ask us
business,
questions.
that's right. We're all about questions if you guys have questions. And we have a couple more questions we're asking
Yes.
ourselves. Um, but that's the one thing that live video does. And if we mess up, which happens sometimes, we
Yeah.
can't correct it, and that's what's interesting about sometimes with recorded video and where you hear, like, these YouTubers doing the whole, they spend hours and hours to produce a 10-minute video
Right.
because they want it
Yeah.
to be perfect. And
Yeah.
yeah, and Alec, thank you for the shout out, Dealcasters Live, thank you, Chris Stone is my
Yes.
partner over there, and here we got something here from Stefan. Yeah, created one of the most special communities on social. Yes, that I would agree, 1000%, not even 100, 1000% that, that you have done an amazing job with that, Tim, and I wish you nothing but continued success with that on that path as well.
Thank
And,
you, Jim. And there was a word that I was just thinking of when we were talking about why to live stream, and really the main reason that I do it, especially for the cancer show, is impact.
mhm,
I want to impact other cancer survivors, other um, family members, of people who have cancer or who have passive cancer, things like that. Impact, I think, is a big word in terms of one of the goals you might have, to live stream is to make some sort of impact. Um, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
yeah, and it is, right? I mean, it's kinda like when, you see them do this a lot on, like what's and I know I always go back to sports, right, Tim? But,
Of
like,
course,
sometimes on
yes.
these sports shows, they'll have these stories of, like, how these people overcame to get to where now they're, on the world stage, if it's a championship or whatever. So this is where live streaming lets us, not so big people do the same thing, and it's amazing the impact that can have, because we're all influencers in our own way, whether we realize it or not. It doesn't matter if you've got 10 people that follow you or 100,000 people that follow you. You impact people, you
Yeah,
impact your family, you impact your friends. And so, I mean, like you said, you're making an impact in the cancer space, which is not an easy thing to do from the perspective of, right?
no,
It's one of those uh, touchy things. I almost even think sometimes, and Tim, maybe, love to know your thoughts on this. It almost feels like in the past it was almost taboo to
Mhm.
talk about it. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, definitely. And for me as a cancer survivor, it's been hard to find a place. I mean, since I've started the show, when I started the show with Kara, and since connecting with other survivors, I've found out about Facebook groups and things like that. And but I haven't found any local in-person support groups, things like that, you know. And that's something that I would love to have. Maybe I'll start one, who knows? Um, you know, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think so. And so let's uh let's go to our next what we came up with a question anyway. And that is,
Yes.
what gear do you need to get started, Mr. Sohn?
Why don't I deflect to you first for this question since I started last time and you are the king of tech, so
Okay. Well, it's really quite simple. You can start here. I'm gonna pull this off of my overhead. You can start with this, your phone.
yes.
You don't need to get fancy. I mean, people forget how good the cameras are in these phones. This is a iPhone 12 and it has a 4K camera. Not even my
Mm,
webcam is 4K. Now I'm not using a webcam now. Now I use a Sony, but you can start with your phone
yeah,
and you can use the microphone on it, but I think we both would agree the most important thing is not your video, it's your audio. And
yeah,
so
100%.
if you can get yourself a microphone that'll plug into your phone, put it on a tripod, you can get started that easily. And the reason I would say maybe get it on a tripod is so that you don't have a lot of shaking because that can make people dizzy. And but
Yeah,
they've got these things called gimbals. But just when you get started, right? We don't want you to think, oh, I got to go buy this, go buy that. So start with your phone. Um, if you don't have that and you've got a camera in your computer, start with that. And then make sure, as you can see, Tim and I are both wearing earphones.
yeah,
And the reason is because if you don't, especially when you're interviewing someone, if you're listening through your speakers, it can go back into the microphone and you get what's called this echo feedback. And it sounds really, really bad and annoying. And as our audiophile Chris Snowden would say, it would drive him crazy. So the camera, and then you can go live on all these, different platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I don't think you can do it yet with LinkedIn, but right to their software. So you don't even have to go buy
right.
software. I mean, I will say StreamYard has a free plan.
Yeah,
So if you want to get started with StreamYard, it is free and that will let you go live on your phone or your tablet. Of
yeah,
course, I think I'm more. What about you, Tim? I'm more of a fan of the using my computer as opposed to using my phone. I just feel like I have more
yeah.
options as a producer and even as a guest than if I'm on my phone. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm the same way. If I'm, if I'm at my home or in my office, I'd rather use the computer because it's just easier to see everything and click everything and everything's smaller on the phone. You also can't share your screen on StreamYard from the phone. And Alec does have some great comments here. He says, if you
Yes.
are going to make a live streaming impact and you can afford it, then my recommendation is to jump over to the basic equipment level, invest in good mic, DSLR camera, and good lighting system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And Nina asked, "What camera am I using?" This is the Sony ZV-E10, but unfortunately, because of chip shortages, it's actually not available right now. But the
Huh.
Sony ZV-1 is also a good camera. And then, Tim, what computer are you using today?
Right now, I'm using a HP laptop. I'm not really sure what model it is, but
Right. So
it's an
so
HP
Tim's on a
laptop.
PC, and I'm using a Mac Mini, which is like a little square thing, so you have to end up buying your own monitors and things like that. And so that's the other thing where you run into some differences is StreamYard works on both PC
Yep.
or Mac. We've also used Ecamm, which
Hmm.
is Mac only though, and it does require you to have a newer Mac. I will tell you that if you don't, because it's software, where StreamYard is cloud-based, browser-based software. But the other thing about where this world is going is there's now a lot of, if you want to call it, competitors. There is
Yeah.
Wave.video just released a really interesting live streaming tool, lets you create scenes and do some other neat things. EV is another one. And so those two are browser based. Now, if you're and then there's also Restream. Restream to me is very similar to StreamYard as far as features and functions,
Hmm.
but they will let you go live to, I don't know, 5,000 places, which I'm not sure why you would do that. With StreamYard, you can go up to 8 depending on the plan, and we go to, like, we're live on 4 places right now, and to us,
Right.
that seems to be just fine. And then,
Yeah.
um, for PC users, there's also a software program called, gosh, I wanna say it's not Vitamix, it's, vMix.
Phoenix, right?
Yeah, vMix, and, yeah, I'm thinking of a blender, and then also, Wirecast, and Wirecast maybe can be used on a Mac, I can't remember,
I'm not
and
sure.
and then
Yeah.
there's OBS, which is free, but I will say, I know our friend Chad, Ia Peterson uses OBS, but he, that's because it's free, right? There's not like there's somebody you can go to when you have issues, and so it's got the learning curve. Oh, and Alec brought up XSplit. That's another one. Yeah, so there's a
Oh, yeah.
bunch of them out there, and so but the biggest thing is you only need those when you're ready to like step up your production level. If you're just wanting to go live, like
Right.
there's a
Yeah.
ton of people that go live on Instagram. Instagram doesn't allow third-party software. So it's basically
Yeah.
your phone. And and I guess, I've done it a couple times, but that's one of those, everybody keeps wanting Instagram to let you, use software on it. But if you think about it, it's really meant to be
I can't imagine that
phone
though.
thing. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh, who is so who is this person you talk about, Tim?
Yeah,
Stream
we should have her on the show. She's another live streaming expert, and she's really good at Instagram lives, among
Okay.
other things. So we should have her on the show sometime.
Right, and
I
then
think
here
she looks great.
we've got Stefan says, "One thing I've learned about doing any stream, imagine, but one of the most, yeah, good lav mics for sound when outdoors." Yes, yeah, because yeah, if you're outside and you don't have a good mic, you will end up with the wind will hit everything. This is I have a pop filter on here, right, and I'm talking across the mic
Yeah.
because if I talk into the mic, you could get what's called plosives, like when you say pizza, pepper, and things like that. If I was doing it in the mic, you guys would not be very happy with me. So that's why, learning mic technique is important. So I mean, Tim, any other thoughts on the gear to get started? And what do you think?
No, I think that's really it. I mean, the most important part is showing up to get started, and then
Right.
the audio is the most important part.
Right. Oh, and
And then
Alec
go from
Alec
there.
has got a
Yeah.
interesting comment. Yeah, waiting for EV Mux to be able to show LinkedIn comments. When it does, will be on my number one list with StreamYard. Ah,
Ooh,
yeah,
interesting. I
interesting.
also saw that Chad had tagged me earlier that they're actually testing out LinkedIn to, I believe, on their noon show today with Wave.video.
Oh, yes, good. That's a good show to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good question, Alec. XLR or USB microphone, pros and cons. I'm currently using the Shure MV7, and this is actually a USB or XLR microphone, as is my friend the Samson Q2U. Now, what are the pros? of each. So by having USB, I can go straight into my computer and get a much better quality of audio with my microphone. The con, though, is that because I'm dealing with my computer, sometimes, and I had this happen in the past, Tim can remember this, the computer sometimes has a mind of its own, and it would all of a sudden reset to the internal microphone of the computer, and then it, like, sounds horrible because it's like it's the microphone that's built in. So with XLR, if you get a sound interface, I have one called the Focusrite. Tim, I don't know if you are you using interface yet for yours?
I don't have an interface. I still have the Samsung Q2U, but I don't have an interface now.
So the Focusrite allows me to plug it straight into the XLR into that, and I'm controlling the audio and the gain on the Focusrite. So if my microphone is too low, I can turn it up, I can turn it down much easier. With the Focusrite I have, I can actually put two microphones in. So if I was doing an interview with, say, Tim was here, which maybe someday will happen, we could actually talk to each other and have separate audio tracks. So much higher quality when you have XLR, and the XLR is what, like, all the band people use when they're doing their gigs. And if Chris Stone is still watching, he'll correct me if I said anything wrong, but XLR is definitely the way that I eventually are going to go if you get that sound interface. And but I do like the fact that I have these microphones that have flexibility, that I can use them either way, because maybe I take my mic with me and I'm going to use it on a computer. I don't have an interface. I can just use the USB, but you're going to definitely get better overall sound quality and the ability to adapt it if you're using XLR with an interface. And there's a bunch of different ones out there. The reason I go with the Focusrite, it's about this big, so if I needed to, I could travel with it. I know a lot of people talk about the Rodecaster Pro, but it's this huge, it's like a deck, and I don't know if I would want to travel with that. So that's a good question, Alex. So
Thanks,
that's why
Alex.
I tell people, start with something like the Samsung Q2U, or I think it's the Shure SM58. I think they're both under $100 microphones that will let you grow. They will grow with you. So if you want to start out USB and then eventually go to XLR, get the interface, that's where those both come in handy. I think it's important to have options. And so Alec is using, and let's see, Stefan says, "Oh, Riverside FM, yeah, yeah."
Yeah.
They really were designed for podcasters that wanted to do video. But I think as StreamYard continues to add some features, and potentially some of these other companies, you will see more podcasters probably start using this stuff, because I have heard, Tim, I won't say
Yeah.
who told me, that StreamYard is working on coming out with the ability to have separate video tracks.
Ooh.
So you could download each person's video post-production and
Wow.
do things with that.
Super cool.
And then, let's see, he has the Elgato Wave 3 and can mix sounds, software driven. And then we're gonna go to a quick message from our friends at StreamYard, and then we're gonna come back. Alex
Yes.
has another question for us.
And we are back on the Tim and Jim show, and we have a question here. Are you thinking of the Alec question about
Yes,
branding,
I am
Jim?
thinking of the question. Is branding important when starting out with live streaming? What do you think, Tim?
I think it's important, but I think if you don't have it to start, let me put it this way. There are different ways you can brand yourself, right? Like when we just came back in, we were doing the Tim dance, right? Now that's not a branding of the Tim and Jim show. That's more of a branding of Tim. Just like that. Thank you, Jim. I was waiting for that to come up. Um, but I do think it's important. If you have the time and the resources to do that before you launch your show, it doesn't take that much. There are great resources like Canva, to create the graphics for your show and other tools out there. But I think it's a good idea, and your branding may evolve over time. It certainly evolved on our show and other shows and projects I've worked on. What do you think, Jim?
And yeah, I think it is important. Like even you can see behind me, I have the poster for the VidFest day that Chris and I are running as part of Dealcasters. So
Yeah.
it's I believe we like to say always be branding, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
your business cards, but it's funny because I think I'm trying to remember, Tim, if we thought of it right away or if was one of those things, like even coming up with the name of this show,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do we call the show? And so, our branding has changed a little bit. We've changed the color theme. This was, I think, after year one. Year two is when we got into more of the shades of green and coming up with an intro video. And so I think it's important because if you don't have something that people can connect to,
Yeah.
how do they remember you? Right. That branding, I won't say it's the content that makes you memorable. It's the
Right.
branding that I guess sometimes can be a little bit of the hook. I mean, it's not necessarily the big hook, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I wear branded. We'll have to figure out. We're gonna make shirts one of these days, but
Yeah.
like I have branded shirts for my business, and I'll wear them just because if anything,
Yeah.
it's mentally somebody sees me, they see the logo, they're like, "Okay, that guy's Fusion Marketing." But if I just had a shirt on, they'd have no idea, and maybe they'll Google you, right? So
Right.
those are kind of reasons to consider, like, you're Sown Social Media Solutions, right? And you
Right.
brand yourself that way. And so yeah, I think from I think our perspective, it is important, but it doesn't uh it doesn't mean that you have to. Oh, now this is an interesting question. I think we had someone on the show talk about this once.
We
What
did.
about makeup for men? Either of you use makeup? We don't, but that's not to say that you
No,
couldn't. Um,
that's true.
there are people that do it. It was Amanda May Gray was on a previous episode of the Tim and Jim show and did talk about that. And some of that's just going to depend on you and your comfort with it. Does it make you look better? Um, I think it kind of depends on like the lighting situation you're in. Like if Tim and
Yeah.
I were getting interviewed on a TV station, they would probably put some makeup on us
Yeah.
because of the lighting there. So it's definitely can be done. We just have never or I haven't.
I haven't either.
Um, but who knows? One of these days might have to, but I just haven't seen the need for it yet. I feel like I guess then again, right? These cameras, as they get better and better, they're gonna find every flaw on our face, and we'll just have to live with it. But
Yeah.
that's an interesting question. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it, but it is funny because I know like on Amazon they got people selling makeup and on these live shows, but I've never said, "Oh, I got to get me some makeup." I think that
Yeah, that is a good question though.
I think the closest thing I use to makeup, I don't know about you, Tim, is sunscreen.
Yes. Yes. In the summertime I use that. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's a good question,
Lots
Alec.
of good questions from Alec and
So
and
I want
observations.
you to lead off with this next one because this is where I feel like you are the expert, and that is how to grow your audience.
Ooh, this is a good one. I like this question, Jim. So
I
how to grow
designed it
your
just for you.
audience? Why, thank you. Thank you, my friend. So how to grow your audience? This is So there's a few ways that I do this. So one way that I do this is after each show, I will send a direct message to people that show up in the comments, thanking them for showing up. And that just gives you that personal connection to people. You know, you can also go back and respond in the comments, but I just feel being in the direct messages, not in a salesy weirdo way, not trying to sell people stuff. You're just showing up and thanking them, right? Maybe they made a comment that you remember and you want to write something brief about that, you know, ask something or make a comment about it. But it's starting that conversation, just saying thank you, right? And you never know where that's going to go. And it's those relationships that you build with people. Those are the people that are going to come back week after week after week to your show, that are going to remember you. I'll also say in terms of LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is my number one platform right now, social media network that I use. So what we do is we schedule out the show using StreamYard. And then when we do that, it creates a LinkedIn event. And then you can hit the invite button. If you click on the event, there's an invite button and you can invite any of your connections. So don't invite everyone, and LinkedIn won't let you. At some point
That's right.
they'll put you
You've
in LinkedIn
invited enough
jail.
people.
Yeah, they'll put you in LinkedIn jail probably if you invite too many people, you know, for engaging too much. Uh, but you can invite people that way. And so those are two ways: in the direct messages, after post show, but then before, invite people, especially through LinkedIn, through the LinkedIn events, by inviting people. What do you think, Jim?
No, I think that's a great idea. And one of the things that we've probably struggled with is like, do we start a group? Right? Because you do have some people that create these groups, and I think kind of going back to your point about LinkedIn, if LinkedIn groups would get better, maybe we would start a LinkedIn group for the Tim and Jim show, because our ideal people that we want to talk with are aspiring entrepreneurs, small businesses, medium businesses,
Yeah,
and not so much like all our friends and family over on Facebook, because most of them don't watch the show anyway.
right.
Um, so I think that that's a great idea. I mean, I do know uh, I've seen, and of course, I need to incorporate like the show as well. But like, but you know, shout out to Gabe Leal, who does a daily newsletter on LinkedIn where he shows everyone that's going live on the platform. And
Right.
so I think, you know, that's another way you can grow your audience, is maybe create a newsletter where you're sharing who is coming in your upcoming shows. And I do believe, and we do have a company page for the Tim and Jim show, that LinkedIn newsletters for company pages are rolling out. I
Oh,
haven't seen it yet for us, so that maybe that's what we'll do, is we'll create a newsletter where we each week, like, here's who's going to be on the show next week, kind of a thing, and highlight them and some other things. um, but yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you definitely, I feel like you do a better job than I do when it comes to this post show engagement. And I think the other thing is, even just by repurposing your content and getting it out there, that is also a way to make people aware of your show, because even though we're live right now, not everybody can make it. You know, you'll
right.
get some replay viewers. So you get some great content sometimes that you forget to share that might resonate with someone. So that's where you want to use your other social platforms to get it out there. So I think those are a couple of other ways. And Alec has got a lot of good
The
questions today.
yeah, the other thing I would just say before we get to those questions is that you never know you never know who's watching. Even though these amazing people, Alec and Stefan and everyone who's here, and we're grateful for all of you, are commenting, we know there are people out there also live or on the replay, and we appreciate you as well so much, that are not commenting. You're soaking in the knowledge. Maybe it's your first time here and you're like, Tim and Jim, I don't know about them. or
Right.
I'm learning from them, or so just know that there are people watching that may not comment right away, or maybe they will never comment.
The
But
lurkers.
the
The lurkers.
lurkers, yes, but we love the lurkers because the lurkers may show up at some point. They may comment at some point. They may become a client of yours at some point. They may collaborate with you in some way. They may show up in some way. So just know there are people out there that are watching that are lurking, but that's a good thing.
Yes, yes. And this is a great question from Alec. What is your worst enemy you were starting the live stream? Was it the physical, the equipment, or the psychological? Do you want to go first, Tim, or do you want me to go first? I'll let you choose.
I'll go first.
Okay.
For me, it was, I would say, the equipment. The Wi-Fi here used to be
Uh,
horrible when we moved into this house here in the middle of freaking nowhere in Pennsylvania. The Wi-Fi was horrible. So my lives used to be really pixelated at first. So we upgraded through our cable company that we get the Wi-Fi through. So we have to pay a little bit more, but the quality is a lot better and it's reliable. That would be my that was my biggest challenge for me. What about you, Jim?
I actually am going to go with the psychological because
Mm,
I was like, is anybody really going to want to listen to me if I'm live? I think it's a little bit of we all struggle no matter where we are in our journey, I would say, with imposter syndrome. And so for me, it was part of that, like, oh, and I think what's interesting, Tim, and I know we've talked about this before, not necessarily on camera, but definitely to each other.
uh-huh.
Having a co-host
Yeah.
has made me accountable to show up every week. And if I don't show up or if Tim doesn't show up, there's a valid reason. We respect each other. Like, well, sometimes if we know it's far enough in advance, we'll get a guest co-host, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But if I had to do it by myself, I might find an excuse because Tim, and you probably remember this. So we had not been doing the show that long.
Yeah.
And I had a hurricane literally wipe my house out in North Carolina when I was still living there. So I was live streaming from my sister's basement, from my
I
mom's dining room
remember.
table, but the
Yeah.
show had to go on, right? This was in the early days of the Tim and Jim show, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to let Tim down. And he could have very
Uh,
easily said, "Oh, I'll do it without you."
yeah.
But we were building something. And so I think it also, I think, helped psychologically because it's like, okay, I've got someone that's got my back and vice versa, uh, and I think sometimes that is a challenge, right? To find someone that you're comfortable co-hosting with, and I think,
Yeah.
we've been lucky,
Yeah.
or at least I've been lucky. I don't know if you feel like you've been lucky that
Absolutely.
I have a great co-host. Um, but because we a lot of times we'll have people say, well, hey, how do I find a co-host? And you know, find someone that you connect with. But then the other thing is you have to, uh, make sure that you guys are gonna or gals are gonna be on the same page and like can agree to, okay, we're gonna go live at this time each week. Little things like what Tim and I do is, um, because I've had other people I know don't necessarily understand. It's like if you invite the guest, you take care of all of the stuff. Like, if Tim invites the guest, he's producing the show. If I invite the guest, I'm producing the show.
Right.
We'll sometimes collaborate on the questions, but if since you're the person that knows the guest more so than say me, who maybe had no idea you're inviting this person, you come up with the questions. And I think
Yeah.
it's those little things that make it all run smoother. And so, it's a little bit of a division of labor, sort of thing. And so, I think those are things we've learned as we've gone along that have helped us, be able to get the show up and running, on a week to week basis fairly quickly because we kind of know, like, okay, like
Yeah.
when Tim runs it, like I create the graphic, but, like, if Tim invited the guest, he'll get me their headshot if I can't find it, things like that. but we've also created a Calendly where we ask those questions to the guest in advance, like, do you have anything you want to offer us, our audience, things like that. So we, do a little homework up front, makes it easier when you do that. And
That's such a time saver, Jim. Using
yeah,
Calendly and having people our guests being able to put in their bio and
hmm,
their social media links, the topic they want to talk about, things like that.
yes,
Um, it just saves so much time, so much. There could be so many emails back and forth and back and forth, so it just saves a lot of time. Yeah, I
yes,
love that.
yeah, and it books the time, right? So it's not like
Yes,
it's like this is the dates and the times available. And so, sometimes it's like, oh, well, there's nothing out for that's because we do that on purpose. We like to get things out in advance. So,
yeah,
because I remember, right, Tim, it used to be like, all right, that was great. Now who's going to be on the show next week?
yes. I do remember those days. I sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And every once in a while we run into that if a guest has something come up and we have to adjust, it's kind of, what happened this week, but it's okay. We like, hey, we can
yeah,
actually do a show, just the two of us. That's how we started. And
absolutely.
so Alec has an interesting comment too. You can't currently live stream to a LinkedIn group, and
Mm,
you also can't send out a newsletter for a LinkedIn group, and that is frustrating. Yeah,
mm,
LinkedIn still has some things that they could improve on, for sure, in some of those
yeah.
areas. And he says that there's no Wi-Fi problems in Sweden. Oh, well, that's interesting. Maybe
Shout
they
out to Sweden.
they must have figured it out way before us. So, yeah, so this has been a lot of fun, Tim. So Tim,
Yeah,
tell me some of the things that you're working on right now for our audience.
yeah, absolutely. And Jim, I'm gonna share my screen if that's
Okay,
cool.
absolutely.
Let me do that. Share. There we go. So there's this little event coming up called the Open Your Hearts and Wallets for Blood Cancers 12-hour live streamed event coming up on April 22nd. It's going to be going from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, and some of you guys may have heard of the event that we did on March 8th and 9th. That one was 24 hours, so we're only half as crazy this time. But some of you guys know, some of you don't, that I'm a 15, well, now 16, going on 16-year cancer survivor, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has provided so many important resources to my family, as well as so many others that have people in their families that have leukemia or lymphoma or myeloma or Hodgkin's lymphoma, blood cancers. So the goal with this fundraiser is for us to raise $50,000, and so we have live streamers that I believe we'll have about 10 live streamers this time that will be live streaming between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. We'll have cancer survivors sharing their stories. We'll have some musicians lined up, and it'll be 12 hours of cancer awareness. There'll also be
Mm,
opportunity to make a donation to the organization, to LLS. And their mission is really to find a cure to beat blood cancer, um, which is so important. So that's a little bit about the event. I'll drop the link in the comments to make a donation. You don't have to wait until April 22nd. The campaign goes until May 18th. It's a
okay.
10-week campaign. And Jim was part of the 24-hour event. So shout out to Jim. Thank you,
Well,
Jim,
well,
for
thank you for asking me to help with that. That was a definitely a powerful event, and you made me cry on live streaming. So, but it's okay. I won't get mad at you.
thank you for helping out with it. And thank you for your donation.
Yeah,
You made your donation live on the show. So thank
that's
you for
right.
that.
That's right.
Um, and so, if any of you guys know or if you are a musician or entertainer, or if you'd like to donate some kind of product or service for a raffle that we'll hold at the end of the event, and everybody who monetarily donates throughout the event will be entered into the raffle. If anybody wants to include their product or service, just reach out to me, and we'll include it in that. But yeah, that's really it. Just grateful for everybody who's helping out, everybody that will show up on that day. Stay tuned for more information as it gets closer. The idea only came to fruition about a week or two ago, so in the throes of organizing it all.
Yes, Tim is a little crazy like that, but there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm a lot crazy. I'm a lot crazy, you know that, Jim.
Yes.
What are you up to, Jim?
Well, so at the end of May, I will be part of the VidFest Amazon influencer track with Chris Stone, and we're gonna have about 16 other speakers, and this is gonna be an in-person event in Orlando as part of
Uh,
VidFest and PodFest. And so I'll also share in the comments anybody that's interested in attending. We've got a code gets you 20% off. And so it'll be a full day of teaching people how they can go become a part of the Amazon influencer program and the benefits of that, as well as there'll be other things going on. There'll be, YouTubers and all. So it's 4 days. It's not just us, and there's podcasters, some of our friends, Eddie Garrison, Ross Brand, Junaid Ahmed. They'll
yeah.
be speaking at different times there as well. So I mean, it is Memorial Day, Tim. If you want to take your family on a vacation to Orlando, it's a great opportunity to do that. But I know they're probably still in school though, right? You guys go in school
Uh,
till June?
Probably. Yeah, we go till usually mid-June.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably the big thing that I've got coming up. And then are you going to Lima, Tim?
I don't think I'm going to Lima.
Uh
You are, right?
I am going to Lima. I'll be doing a table talk. So I
Nice.
was hoping you were going to make it, but maybe in 2023.
Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. And
Yes.
so excited next week. We have a friend we haven't had on in a while, Kendra Ramirez,
Ah,
who's written, I think, not one, but now two books on marketing. She's
wow.
amazing when it comes to mindset. So, Kendra will be joining us next week. So excited for that show. She's a Spitfire, and she is definitely someone that has done some great things on LinkedIn as well. So I know, Tim, that you'll like that because it'll be, a little bit of LinkedIn stuff. And, and also shout out to our
Love it.
friend Judy Fox Rocks, who has helped both of us up our LinkedIn game. And I'd say for me, LinkedIn, Twitter, right? They're kind of my two ones that I like, maybe one and one A in regards to where I like to do things. But
Yeah.
Tim, this was fun, right? We
Yes.
maybe we should do
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Maybe we should do it a little more often, right? I don't know, where it's just the two of us.
Yeah. Maybe we could do it like once a month or once a
Yeah.
quarter or once a I don't know. We'll
By
figure it out.
by yeah, we'll figure it out. That's right. That's right. We're
Buy
in
something.
charge.
We are. It's our show. Yes. We'll make the decisions.
That's right. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for all the great questions. And if you're catching us on replay, don't be afraid to drop some questions as well. We'd be happy to answer them. And so we'll see you next week on the Tim and Jim Show.
Have a great week, everyone. And don't forget to do the Tim.